Hello and welcome to BLAR14017 Built Environment Project. This is week number 1, welcome to it, and we're just going to have a general overview and an introduction to the unit and what's included and expected of you. But first, before we pie into that, you want to know who's actually lecturing you, so you get a bit of background, you get to know me a little bit better. I am a UK chartered building surveyor, and I specialise in heritage buildings, facilities and asset management and whole of life profiling. The heritage buildings comes into more environmental areas nowadays. I've worked in London for major clients as a client side project manager and also on the consultancy side of large firms. I was invited by the Nottingham Trent University to develop a new degree in building surveying in the UK, and I developed the course, gained accreditation and ran that for 3 to 4 years. Towards the end of that, I established a specialist practice dealing with facilities and asset management of historic buildings, and then we emigrated, myself and the family, to Australia in 2004, where I started working for GHD. I was their facilities and asset manager in charge of all the South East Queensland. I then briefly worked for Queensland State Government as the property manager for the Department of Justice, looking after all the courthouses in Queensland. I then did contract work, and I also casually lectured at the University of Queensland before coming to Central Queensland University, where I'm a lecturer, and undertaking my PhD research into condition assessment and asset management. And also, I'm a Prince Project Manager Practitioner. That's just a methodology for project management, and I'm a professional architectural photographer as well. So I'm a man of many skills. I forgot to put my name up at the top. I'm Kevin Stone. Just call me Kevin. A view of the lectures that we've got coming up, and the lectures themselves are they're not particularly formal lectures. You're all out there at work at the moment, and building up these work logbooks, etc., is a requirement of our accreditation, as I'll mention in a minute. All the lectures are pre-recorded and they're made available as soon as they're ready. It's normally a week in advance, so you can watch them whenever you like, and you can watch them as many times as you like. Most of the information will come from your own directed study. As I said, as many times as you like. Keep an eye on the Moodle site regularly. I'm visited at least once a week for a few moments, because I'll add links and resources whenever I find them. I won't send emails out telling you they're there. I'll just expect you to have a look at a time each week. These will include links to useful YouTube videos that I find that may explain the methods and things that we're talking about in a different way to me. And we all know that different people understand things in different ways. You may understand me, or you may find it more useful to watch another video with someone explaining it in a different way. The end result is you understand it, and I don't mind whichever you do. The background to the course, to the unit as we have to call it now, it is actually a requirement of the university's industry accreditation. Through the accreditation a few years ago, the industry representatives and the trade bodies were very supportive of our courses in built environment, but identified that we lacked a reasonable amount of real life, on the job mentoring, and we lacked the ability to prove that you actually had learnt the skills that we're coming on to now, and you could review your career progression. And part of the research block, it sits in there with these 2 other units, which you, I believe, should have done before, so you can look back at the notes you've got for those. They could be of help to you. It is quite a high level. It's a level 4 capstone course, therefore it's very important for the overall degrees. You've got to develop a folio on your skills that you've got now. You've acquired skills while you've been working and at university. You've probably never sat down and critically reviewed what you've learned and how you've improved from year 1 to whichever year you're in now. Quite a lot of the skills that will be involved in this course that you're going to record are probably what we would call soft skills. They've been almost subconsciously acquired when you're in an office or workplace environment, by watching more senior people, understanding and copying them sometimes to a degree, and from feedback they would have given you. It extends on 12053, the personal traits that we try to develop. So if you've done that one, revisit that one briefly for an hour, probably with a glass of wine or something. We're looking, as I mentioned, at soft skills and attitudes in the workplace, professionalism, ethics, how you helping other people, mentoring other people, because you'll be in a position of authority at some time in the not too distant future, if not already now. So you need to learn how to deal with people from different backgrounds, different skill sets. The aims overall of the unit, they're fairly straightforward. We're going to try and learn by doing and reflecting. You're doing stuff, you're working, and you're doing a few bits in the course. And then you're going to reflect on what you've learned. What did you do right, what did you do wrong? And what are you going to do in the future to improve yourself? This looking and reflecting on your own experience has got an educational name called kinesthetic or tactile model. You don't need to remember that, you just need to know that you're doing stuff, and then you're going to reflect on it. You're going to look at how you did it, and did it go well, bad. Generally through this, we observe what we're doing, and you could do this on someone else. You can observe, you can ponder, which is the reflecting part of it. You're thinking, why did they do that? Is there a better way of doing that? How did they get into that position? Why did they succeed and I didn't, or the other way around? Then you work out an action plan on how you're going to improve yourself. That could just be trying to change your attitude a bit, get to know someone better, make better records of what's happening, maybe do some extra education. In other cases it could be trying to socialise more often with your team. And then you're going to review the effect of that action. So did it actually achieve what you thought it would? It will achieve some of it. Rarely will it achieve everything you intended. And you just got to tweak it. And this is different to every single person, because we've all got different personalities and backgrounds. So you can't just take someone else's and apply it to yourself. You have to observe yourself. This may be uncomfortable sometimes, because you might have to ask people where you work what they think of you in certain situations, and you want to get an honest answer because you're trying to self-improve yourself. You can use a situational reflective analysis model, GAO, we'll do that for short, but that basically stands for the goal, you're aware of it, what's the outcome, and what are you learning from it. So what were you trying to do, were you aware of everything at the time, what actually happened, did you succeed, not succeed, whatever, and then what did you learn from that? How are you going to do things differently next time? Even if you succeed in something, how are you going to succeed quicker, better than last time? Nothing's perfect. You've got to appreciate the university's graduate attributes. They're on the website, so review those. And you're going to develop your own lifelong learning methodology. It may sound strange, but the most successful people tend to have a plan of where they're going to go and where they want to get to, and they'll have a methodology for doing that. An example would be, say, if you've got a year 12 student at school, they're interested in engineering, what's their methodology? Well, the methodology obviously started maybe a bit earlier than year 10, maybe year 12, maybe in year 10, so they selected the right subjects at school. Then they apply to do possibly a degree in engineering, so they spend 3-4 years doing a degree. Then they get a they get a position in an engineering practice firm, whatever. They start to learn on, the real job, and they slowly take internal management courses, training courses. They may climb up the corporate ladder a bit, but after a while they discover, I'm not going to get to the top. I'm not going to be sort of like the director of a company unless I know more about management and finance. They decide their methodology is to go back and do a part-time MBA to acquire additional skills to suit where they want to get to. But they decided that very early on in life, and they try to follow that plan. It always changes. You get married, have children, that all changes things, but you should develop a basic pathway forward. And you should share your views and experiences when we do the live tutorial seminars. This is not a competition between you, and I think there's only a few of us on this one. There's not too many students, I don't believe. So we need to talk openly when we do our live tutorials. You may come up with something I don't know, a situation I'm not aware of, or I may be able to help you out, or our fellow students might say, oh, I went through that once before. So we're trying to help each other. There's no competition between us in this one. It's collaborative. So we've got some activities, assignments, and they've got different weightings. You've got to fill out a logbook, which basically is what you did each day. And we give you a pro forma of that. It's giving you, I think it's in Word document, so you can add extra lines into it. I don't have a problem if you transfer the format and the look of it onto an Excel sheet, as long as when it gets printed as a PDF or something and submitted, it looks the same. So that's worth 9%, which is a reasonable amount. You're going to keep a log journal, which is more detailed. You're going to start thinking of your successes and your failures and what you could have done wrong in that one. So that's 21%. There are some examples floating around for this. And you've got to pick a couple of projects, which you're going to critically review. You may not have been the lead in a project, so you may possibly be critically reviewing someone else. These are complex things to do, but very useful. So we give those 62%. So you've got to, make sure you put the right amount of time into these, considering how much they're worth. And you do a seminar, which basically you're going to give me a maximum of 10 PowerPoint presentation, which is done live through Zoom, and then you submit them as a PDF. So that's 8%. Your academic skills, your presentation skills, and that, they're included in those. I've not broken them out. I do expect professional presentation though, so anything you write up, obviously we're giving you the formats to do the logbook and the journal, but your project reports and that, they need to be a professional report. We use the Harvard referencing system that you should remember from previous units. You know what sort of size font and all that stuff. It has to have a contents page. You need to break it down with main headers and subheadings, bung a cover page on it. Make sure you sign it as your own work, obviously. Any graphs, photographs or anything that's not yours, you're going to make sure you reference them properly, because Turnitin will find them out for us, so we've got to be careful of that one. So that all totals up to 100%, so you should be able to do it. Obviously look at those percentages. So technically speaking, we'd say, well, you need to spend more time on project reports because they're 62%. So do you spend 62% of your study time on that? We'll talk about that in a minute. So assessment number 1, 26%, there's 3 tasks. A workplace logbook template is a weekly summary of your week, and the template's on the Moodle site. You need a mentor, somebody who can keep an eye on you, someone who's helping you, someone who can actually sign off that what's in your logbook template is true and accurate, and you're bound to know someone above you who's happy to do that. And there's the reflective journal, so it's a weekly event that goes on. Because we need to get a set number of days into this journal for the accreditation to satisfy it, then you actually have to go back and start that journal from at least 40 days before you commence the module. So that's 40 days before the 10th of August. So if you go back, then you fill it in historically and then carry on in real time. And there's a Project One inquiry. So the idea is there's a major building project that was rejected or greatly altered because it didn't comply with government legislation. You've got to find one of those. This is a real world situation. You've got to go and find it and analyse what happened. You go to the press, go to the internet and find out. Maybe the council might have rejections. You normally get it on larger buildings, not residential particularly. Assessment number 2, 36%, 2 tasks to do. A second project inquiry we'll talk about. This is where the Australian Building Commission, I want to know the history of them. This is the commission that oversaw the activity of construction unions, etc. They were in existence from 2005 to 2012 before they were disbanded. I need a history of that, professional report format. That's a link if you download it. The Herald Sun had an article in December 2015 about the CFMEU, which was the main union for the construction industry. It makes interesting reading, and if you Google CMFEU behaviour, stuff like that, you'll find a load of things on it. And then if you remember, the present government tried to reintroduce the ABCC, and it was rejected by the Senate in 2013. They're still trying to get it through in 2016, and they had to make a lot of compromise before it got through Senate. And I'm interested in your views on how that happened and what effect the compromises that had to be made to get it through Senate have on the actual control of these unions and the Act. You need a lot of research into that. And then you do a project inquiry number 3, and it's basically a straightforward one. It's a situation where the client saved your bacon. So you'd made a mistake and your client dug you out of the hole. They helped you. And it's not unusual, it does happen quite often. And of course, whilst you're doing this assignment, you're still doing assignment 1, you're still keeping the workplace logbook and the reflective journal going. So that's a weekly thing you do. You want to set aside a bit of time, maybe on a Friday evening for an hour just to do those 2 things. Then number 3, 38%, you're going to finish off the workplace logbook, look for template. We're going to need your mentor template, your reflective journal still going on. We need, by the end of the unit, 60 days since the start of the unit. And you do another project inquiry number 4, a future domicile option. So what's happening overseas in other countries and the social impact for Australia. Now we'll talk a little bit more about that project inquiry number 4 later on in the course. No point worrying about it yet. But with assignment 3, you have to get a minimum of 19 out of 38. You have to, otherwise it's a foul. So we have a hurdle you have to at least reach. Online tutorial sessions. I run them as a question and answer basis. They're live on Zoom, so they're not pre-recorded. They will be recorded, so if you can't make it, you can at least see what happened. They're recorded, they're available next day unless there's some sort of technical problem. This is where we all share our industry observations. We might have seen something in the press or the paper, or you might have seen something at work. So we talk about it all, ask each other questions about it. We'll discuss media reports we could have seen on the TV, so keep your eyes on the radio, the television, the papers for anything to do with construction. And if you've got any questions, which probably not at the moment apart from about the assignments, which we're going to deal with a bit more next week, post your questions on the Q&A forum in Moodle, so everybody can see the questions, and I strive to answer those within a day or so everyone can see the answers. Sometimes I'll actually say, I can't answer that at the moment, we'll answer it in the tutorial, because I may have to do some background research into the question. And that's basically it for this module, introduction. It's a fairly straightforward and simple one for you. Don't want to waste too much of your time. We always end with a nice photograph. That's of a cathedral, St John's Cathedral in Brisbane. Nice black and white shot I did on that one there. So don't panic about this course. It's not that difficult. I'm doing everything I possibly can to get you through it with the least amount of stress and pain, okay? So I look forward to talking to you on the tutorial. I'll send that out so you know when it is. It's on the Moodle site. Any questions, say the Q&A forum, unless they're of a personal type nature, then just email me directly. And I'll be putting the next lecture up shortly.